This is Richard Wolff from Democracy at Work, responding to another Ask Prof. Wolff question from our Patreon community. And this one comes from Dutch. And Dutch is upset, as rightly Dutch should be, by watching the current effort from the highest levels of the US government to make statements about the inflation that we are all suffering through that seem to blame labor. That's right. Working people are somehow at fault for the inflation. You see, in the way this goes, workers are pushing for higher wages, and the poor employer, confronted with a demand for higher wages, simply raises the prices, and that's the story. The implication being that if we could only stop wages from going up, well, then we'd have a solution to our inflation problem. When the head of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, said a few weeks ago that the raising of interest rates was the Fed's way to curb inflation, his handlers and his spokespersons afterwards explained the logic here. You see, if you raise interest rates, people will not be able to afford to buy homes, to buy cars, to use their credit cards to take out college loans the way they were before. With less houses built, less cars sold, less credit card spending happening, people will lose jobs making the homes and the cars and whatever you use your credit card for. In other words, when he said there'll be pain about raising interest rates, we now understand what he meant. Pain for the working class, pain for the millions who will lose their jobs over the next 18 months. That's who pain he's talking about. And it would seem logical that people who think like that would come to these conclusions. Because if it's the workers who are driving the inflation and they're demanding higher wages, well, isn't a brilliant counterstroke simply to make them unemployed? That will slow them down from demanding more wages because they'll be content to keep the job without more wages because what's worse is lurking around the corner, namely unemployment. So there you have it. An analysis of inflation blames the worker, punishes the worker painfully, and thereby solves the problem. Nice, neat package. Except it's wrong. It's wrong on every level of economics, on every level of the empirical record, but it is a useful way to shift blame from those who deserve it to those least able to fight against it. And if that isn't the American way, what is? Let's go through it. Inflation in the United States is currently at 8.5%. Increase of wages in this country currently 5%. In other words, whoever's raising prices, and in a minute I'll let you in on who that is, they're raising them a lot faster than workers are getting increased wages. If all they were doing was keeping up with wage increases, our inflation would be about half what it is now. Wow. Little detail. People like Powell hope you don't notice. But let me remind everyone what a businessman or woman always faces. Everything is always changing. Problems are arising everywhere. Workers want more wages, but the people you buy inputs from want higher prices. And the electric company wants to raise the rates on your electric. And the technology you bought is wearing out. And the new technology is I could go on all afternoon. And the job of the business person is to figure out how to respond. And that depends on what's possible. These days, you know what's possible? Jacking up your prices. Before, that would have got you into trouble, but now all employers are doing it. And that brings me to the big point I want to remind everyone of. Prices are raised by employers, nobody else. The price of what you buy is determined by the employer who owned the company that made whatever it is you're buying. Governments don't set prices. Workers don't set prices. Employers. So let's be clear. 1% of our people, employers, sets the prices paid by 99% of our people. That doesn't sound democratic to you? Good, it isn't. Our economy isn't democratic, and they work real hard at the top to keep it that way. Don't be fooled. Blaming workers is ideological noise. It has no substance. It's pure effort to take this broken economy and blame it on the working class. It's worked in the past. One point here is to make sure it doesn't do that anymore. If interventions like this strike you as worth having people think about, then partner with us. Share these videos with friends, coworkers, anyone who might be interested. We also ask you to partner with us these days as we race before year's end to reach our goal of 300,000 YouTube subscribers. We're very close, well within reach, but we want to get there with little time to spare. So if you haven't, think about signing up. Doesn't cost anything. It's about being notified when we produce more media that you might find interesting, just like this video. And of course, if you can help us with financial support, that will be appreciated as well. Thank you.